It was reportedly broken by Deadline that Kathleen Kennedy will be retiring from the role of producer of Star Wars. For the last 13 years after George Lucas handpicked her to take over for him when he retired, she has been spearheading the Star Wars films in the Disney universe, and some would say to some divisive results. Because on one hand, look, you could say what you want about the sequel trilogy. The Force Awakens is the highest grossing domestic movie of all time, and all three of those films made $1 billion. So even if they dropped in quality, they still netted Disney a lot of money, so it makes sense why they would want to keep her around. Mandalorian is wildly successful, at least the first and second season were. The third season kind of dipped in quality, but that's not necessarily a Kathleen Kennedy problem as much as it's a writing problem. I liked Solo, A Star Wars Story. I thought that that movie was a lot of fun and got a lot of hate when it didn't deserve it, and Rogue One was really good as well. That ending scene with Darth Vader is living rent-free in my mind for the rest of my life. It is peak excellence in the Star Wars universe, and I love Andor. That TV show is fantastic. It's the greatest thing that Star Wars has done since the original trilogy. If you're not watching it, what the hell is wrong with you? Sure, it doesn't have lightsabers and space battles and all this stuff that you expect out of a blockbuster movie, but it has such deep, rich storytelling with characters that you really love, and an arc and a goal with the main characters that's really compelling to watch. So Kathleen Kennedy has done a lot right in the Star Wars universe, but she's also done a lot wrong. How many projects has she announced that fell through the wayside? We have the Benioff and Weiss movies that were going to be done, which was like the Old Republic era. You had Lord and Miller doing Solo before they were fired and replaced by Ron Howard because Kathleen Kennedy didn't like the direction that they were taking it. Then you have the Patty Jenkins movie where they literally spent a budget making a commercial where Patty Jenkins was rollerblading onto set where an actual X-Wing was waiting for her in the background to announce that she was going to do a Rogue Squadron movie. Then you have the Taika Waititi film. Then you have the Sean Levi film with Ryan Gosling. Then you have the James Mangold film where he's doing the Dawn of the Jedi, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. She announced at least 20 projects that have all just disappeared, and it just seems like she can't get her bearings in order, and when they do strike success, when they do find a win, it's not so much tactic or strategy as much as it's just luck that she found someone that just figured out the recipe. Now, a lot of people don't like Kathleen Kennedy, and I think that that's absurd. Steven Spielberg, who is, I don't care if there's no argument, the greatest director of all time, literally said she is the greatest producer of all time. Kathleen Kennedy does a great job helping creatives get their movie made. But what Kathleen Kennedy is not is a great studio head for this franchise. So Deadline broke an article pretty much saying that she was going to retire, she was stepping down, and Disney was going to find her replacement. And then that flip-flopped a couple days later, and she was like, no, I'm not retiring just yet, but we are starting the process of finding somebody to replace me, and I'm going to kind of help spearhead that transition. And rightfully so. Some people are mad about this, but look, at the end of the day, she is still an award-winning movie producer that has netted Disney billions of dollars. She started new little franchises within this universe like The Mandalorian, which we're about to get a full feature-length movie with Jon Favreau directing. And even outside of her Star Wars stuff, she has produced some iconic movies for iconic directors. So I think that she is deserving of the chance to retire on her own merits, the way that she wants to, leaving this legacy behind in hands that are going to care for it. I think that she's earned that right. Do I think that the movies that she's really passionate about right now are going to get made? I don't know. She's really gun-ho on getting this Daisy Ridley sequel off the ground, and I don't know if that's the right decision because, look, at the end of the day, I love Rey. I thought that she was a great character, but her movies are so divisive, and I don't think that we need to go back. I think we need to move forward. Let's go 100 years in the future and tell a new Star Wars story with new characters, a new Jedi, a new problem, new disturbance in the Force that a new young group of heroes has to kind of get together and stop from taking over the galaxy. I'm okay with James Mangold doing like a Dawn of the Jedi. That's cool because we've never seen that before. And I really want to see an Old Republic story because that video game, Knights of the Old Republic, is one of the greatest Star Wars video games of all time. But what we don't need is to go back into the Rey Skywalker story arc. Now, I am a little nervous because there is some speculation that she's going to appoint Dave Filoni to be her successor, and I don't think that's a good idea. I thought Ahsoka was okay, and I thought that the episodes of The Mandalorian that he did was good, but he is so invested in the George Lucas camp of storytelling. He was George Lucas's successor, and he believes so deeply in the mythology and the rules that George Lucas set up to create a Star Wars movie that if they appoint him, we're just going to keep getting more of the same, and I get it for all the die-hard Star Wars fans out there that love George Lucas for creating this franchise, but he almost destroyed this franchise with the whole midichlorian nonsense. I love George Lucas. He created one of my favorite franchises of all time. But the only way that Star Wars survives is if it evolves. It's adapt or die, and it needs to evolve into something new, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And I don't think Dave Filoni is that guy, because she's just going to give us more of the same. So I really do hope that Kathleen Kennedy and Disney understand this and get some new blood in there that's going to inject some much needed originality into this franchise. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I think Kathleen Kennedy is a great person and a great producer, and she's trying her best. She's failing at it. She's not a great person to be running Star Wars, but I really want to see her get back to making original movies with people like Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, and all these other iconic directors.